Yeah.
And I'm a big bitch baby about the heat too. That's why our house is 68 degrees year round.
68 degrees is the perfect
It's so
heat.
fucking perfect. And like, people are like, oh my God, that's too cold. It's got to be 72. No, anything above 70 is too hot.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not fucking worth it. So, let's...
Like, anytime my air conditioner can't keep up with the heat outside, I'm just like, I am the angriest person ever.
Yeah. So let's start the episode now. Welcome to RPG Book Club, the podcast where we play a little bit of a video game and talk about how it makes us feel. I am Sam Allman.
I'm Elias Sailor Eli Warren.
And I'm Maddy Grace Webbin.
And today we'll be continuing our playthrough of Chrono Cross, covering everything up until the fake-out visit to Death's Door. So it's not making our way through Death's Door. It's we get there the first time and we're like, oh shit, we need to do a quest first. And we're not covering that quest. I was thinking we might, but we didn't because I didn't want to write more notes. So
yeah,
it may not make the most thematic sense, but that's where we're stopping.
Here's the thing about this stretch of the game. It's about 3 episodes worth of stuff for this one single stretch, and there's no good way to break into 3 episodes. But it's 3 episodes worth of content. 2 would be not enough, right? 2 would be too fast. So it's just like, sure, let's just cut it here.
Yeah. But before we get to all of that, how is everyone's week?
We had GDQ week, and that was pretty good.
Yeah, we did.
It was so good. There were a lot of great runs that I saw and a lot that I missed, but I'm catching up on. The Hollow Knight run that we quickly scampered off for last week was real good.
Yeah, I still need to catch it on VOD because we scampered off, and then I went to the living room, and I think we watched King of the Hill instead. It happens sometimes. We miss Texas, okay?
That's fair. King of the Hill is one of those shows that I did not understand until I lived here, and I'm like, oh yeah, it do be like that.
it be like that.
It
be
do
exactly like that.
And the Donkey Kong Country 2 run was fantastic. I always love seeing DKC 2 because that's one of my favorite childhood games. I was just watching The Lion King earlier. I was telling Maddy about that before we started.
That run was great. I caught that one live.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I played a fuck ton of The Lion King on SNES when I was a kid because it was hard as shit. And I never beat it. Well, no, okay, I did beat it, but I had to skip to the 9th level in order to do so because the one where you're going through a fucking volcano, which does not happen in the movie. I don't know if you've seen The Lion King, but there's not a volcano in The Lion King. But there is in the game, and it's impossible. It is completely fucking impossible to get through that level. Actually, well, I haven't tried it since childhood, but I guarantee I wouldn't be able to do it now. And so it's really fun to watch someone just fucking demolish this impossible game.
Yeah, and one thing I loved about the Lion King run in particular is they ran Lion King SNES in January, and normally you don't get the same game back to back. But the Genesis version, which is the one that I have, is like completely harder because hitboxes are changed and the auto scroller level doesn't have a magic pixel, and it's like such a vastly different run because it's more bullshit on the Genesis, which makes me feel vindicated because in January when I saw them beat it on the SNES and they were like, yeah, this part looks really hard, but it's really easy. I'm like, bullshit, no, it's not. The first time I got in trouble for cussing was because I said fucking shit on the Hakuna Matata level. So I don't know what you're fucking talking about. And this one, she played it on the Genesis and was like, no, look, it's hard as shit here. This one is a much more difficult run, which I thought was great.
Yeah. Well, and they were talking about the differences between the Stampede in SNES and in Genesis, and like in SNES you can take a whole bunch of hits. In Genesis, if you take 2 hits from the wildebeest, you're fucking dead.
Yeah,
which is bullshit.
Yeah, it's just a lot of bullshit on the Genesis version. It was a great run though. The run was spectacular.
The weirdest part is that all the music and sound effects are different. So like they sound very similar, but it's very distinctly different to my SNES years. It's
because the SNES sound chip, as we've discussed many a time, is sample based, and the Genesis sound chip is it has sample capabilities, but is mostly a synthesis chip. Yeah. So it sounds like a synthesizer, where SNES would just sample the actual stuff and make it sound closer to the actual instruments, which is cool. But what else was at GDQ? It didn't raise as much money this time, which is expected because it was way different, and also everyone doesn't have a job. Yeah, it still raised $2.1 million, which 2 years ago was unheard of. It's just this last year we just were like, what if we beat our high score by $1 million? I
was really shocked by how it was still very enjoyable and still mostly had the same feel. Don't get me wrong, I'm gonna be really excited to have the couch and the audience back in the future. But like, they did an incredible job with it. Their tech team are fucking geniuses. Like, it was so audiovisually it was hard, but also it was put together so well. And also they had a new feature, unless they had this and I just missed it before. They had a new feature where towards the end of each day they would have a highlights section.
That was really cool.
So cool. They'd be like, hey, here's what you missed. Here's some actual great clips. Go check out these videos later. They're so good, you know? That's awesome. The constant switching between this and that and this and that, and the piping in, the piping into the commentators and stuff was like pitch perfect. And it still was, it was still really enjoyable. It was still lots of good hype, you know. I watched more than usual, but not as usual, but also not as much as I would have liked. I got to catch the most of the Sonic block. The Sonic 1 and 2 runs were both fantastic. The Sonic 3 Knuckles run was incredible.
It was really good.
And the Freedom Planet run as part of that block was also just fucking bonkers.
And I also caught about half of the Final Fantasy VII Remake run. I was really excited about that because, that game only came out a few months ago. I'm sure that, I don't know when the deadline for submissions closed, but it must not have been that long after the game came out. And it was really cool. I always love seeing new games because you get to see sort of their in progress strats. And for the first couple chapters, basically until you meet Aerith, I don't know why I called her Aerith. What am I, a fucking weeb? For the first part of the game, until you meet Aerith, it was pretty much just play as intended. Like, there were a couple glitches here and there and some interesting exploits, but they were playing any percent. But most of it was just like, here's how to be good at the battles. Here's how to manage your MP. The routing and stuff is very, very complex. But then once they hit Aerith, it's like, okay, turns out we can skip this chapter using an out of bounds glitch. Turns out we can do this crazy nonsense. So you really got a lot of both. You got best of both worlds. You got high level play. You got crazy glitches. You got all kinds of funny jokes. The runner was a total cutie pie. He was literally wearing a cloud outfit, which was really, really funny. But yeah, it was absolute highlight. I can't wait. It was like a 6.5 hour run. I can't wait to see how much less it is next time, right? Because they had it in like the middle of the fucking night. It started at like midnight or 11 my time, and I'm guessing that's probably because of the length of it, and maybe because it's it's such a new game.
Yeah.
Maybe they were worried like it's long and also it's a new game, so what if it's not that good of a run? I'm sure they better give it a primetime spot next time around, or next time when they end up having it, because it is a really good run.
Yeah. Normally, I say normally, over the last 2 years, they've been experimenting with RPG speedruns overnight, and this one probably was just because of the length.
Yeah.
I think only Chrono Trigger 100% in January was the first time they like gave it a prime block. And I mean,
yeah, I need to watch that now that I've played Chrono Trigger.
Yeah, if they trim FF7 down to like 4 hours, it's like that's like Saturday primetime material.
Yeah. Which is what they did for Pokemon Sword and Shield, which was the closer and primetime spot this year, which was also a good run.
I heard it was really hype, yeah.
My favorite execution-based run was Rayman Legends. There was literally, I think, 3 times they exploited where because they ran as Glowbox, and Glowbox's arms reach out a little bit farther than Rayman's does, so he could grab a couple items like through a wall. But for the most part, he just jumps across the stage instead of climbing things, and it's bonkers and it's great. The only thing that detracts from that run is it was like the second run of the marathon, so they were still working out some of the technical details. And Spike Vegeta, who is commenting and is such a great commenter, so everyone was letting him commentate. He had lag, so he would be explaining a trick that had happened a second ago, and it kind of took away from that. And then the runner's video feed would lag. But the cool thing about his video feed lagging is he was moving so fast and doing so much, you would get like 1 frame a second, and it would look like he was in completely different levels doing completely different things because he was just going so fucking fast. And you're like, it's only been messed up for a second. Surely he didn't do all of that while it was messed up. And it was great. But
I'm on team. I want Sense Mom's lamp.
Yes, Sense Mom is great.
She is
and
great.
Then my favorite broken run that I've seen so far is Amnesia: Dark Descent.
Oh, I just watched that too.
So like, first thing he does, he's like, okay, so this first level is really scary, so we're going to skip and just jump up out of bounds and just walk to the end. And it's like all of these things where you're like, you remember playing it, you're like, oh, the water monster was super duper scary. I'm going to shit myself as he speedruns this. He's like, nah, if you never touch in the water, it never spawns. So if we just walk up here, we can get to the end of the level right away.
Sometimes these games will have like really, really, really easy exploits, and when I like that, are even a normal person could do, not just a speedrunner. And when I see that, I'm like, I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? That part was I was on that part for hours, and you telling me I could have just done that?
Yeah, that was me with the big scary vomit face boss in East 2, and so I was like trying it for hours and I couldn't do it, so I looked up speedrun strats, and it's like, oh, if you run right away to this corner and you charge your fireball, you can just do fireballs at him till he's dead and he can't even move. And I'm like, oh, fuck you, speedrunner.
Well, fine.
I've been at this for like a fucking day and a half, but fuck you.
Why didn't you tell me this sooner?
I'll just stand in this one magic spot and win it in 10 seconds. But
yeah, great job to all the runners and all the staff.
It was good.
Y'all put on a great show this year. I mean, you put on a great show twice every single year, but like even with the pandemic, like they nailed it. Great job.
Yeah.
And they raised a lot of money.
And if you've gotten this far through our backlog and you haven't ever gotten into speedrunning, or you are a new listener, hi, we love you. But you should definitely check out GDQ runs specifically. Like, you can go and watch a speedrunner on Twitch if you want to, but it's a lot of them grinding. GDQs is like the cream of the crop, the polish, the like showing off everything. It changes the whole way you think about video games in general, really. And it's great. And being a listener to the show, you probably really like RPGs. GDQ has a sister channel called RPG Limit Break that also runs twice a year, and they do like specifically RPG runs, so, and it has just as much hype and polish and everything. So you could probably find your favorite RPG beaten in like 2 to 3 hours on YouTube somewhere, and it's great, and everyone should watch it.
I know,
it's also a great way to like. It's also a great way for these long RPGs to revisit them without having to play a 65-hour video game. So you can just be like, oh, I want to remember all of the good parts of Xenoblade Chronicles. So you just watch them beat Xenoblade Chronicles in 7 hours and you're good. And you can just move on with your life again.
It's amazing because like you're not getting like the emotional artistic experience of the plot because they're just like blasting through and skipping all the cutscenes, but like you're remembering all the good parts of the game.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, that part was great. Yeah. Oh, I love that part. Oh man, it really does kind of feel like you're like playing. You're just like having a really nice time remembering how much you like the game.
Yeah.
Also, I will say I have two friends. Well, I have a number of friends, but I have one friend in particular over here. We were going to hang out yesterday. We did hang out yesterday, and we were like, what should we do to hang out? And I was like, well, there's a really good GDQ run coming up. And she's just like, I don't know. Like, GDQ just doesn't interest me. You know, like, if I'm going to watch a speed run, I'm just going to watch, like, a VOD, and I'll watch it at, like, 1.5 speed so I can, like, skip past all the boring parts and see all the cool stuff. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. Like, watching it live, and it's, like, the hype, and she just did not get it. But she's also never watched GDQ, and I'm like, I swear to God, if you just watch, it's so good. Like, you're not just picking through it because you want to see cool stuff, right? Like, it's an experience. Anyway, I wasn't able to convince her, but if you've never thought it was interesting, just give it a shot, because it rules.
Yeah, and it's real good. But Maddy, if you had anything not GDQ related, you could say that now, or we could jump in.
Well, I'm about to send y'all. I have not much going on except for two things. One of them, I'm about to send y'all a picture. I realized I should have sent it earlier, but I didn't. So this is outside my window right now.
Whoa, that's pretty.
No, it's not pretty. Everything's on fire. That's
fire? That's not the sunset?
Lord. No, that's not literally fire, but that is, the sky is filled with ash.
So California is burning to the ground again.
That's not a sunset. That is fire. I mean, it is beautiful, though, I agree. Yeah, no, California is completely burning to the ground. It's not even fire season is the thing. Fire season is in, like, October.
Oh, my God.
So, yeah, no, it's really bad. It's really hot.
Don't die.
First of all, it's a heat wave. It's never been this hot since I've lived here. It was like 100 degrees one day last week, which I know you're from Texas, boo-hoo. But, like, first of all, I ain't used to it. It's been a while. Second of all, I live in an upstairs room, and in California, houses don't have air conditioning. And finally, I do have this window fan where it's like it's not an air conditioner, but you just put it in your window, and it sucks in the cooler outside air and blow, and circulates. But now the AQI is 175, and I can't open my window. So I am inside the house, basically like in a fucking greenhouse, just like baking upstairs all day. And I'm inside all day because of my tutoring job, right? So it's rough. It's rough. Also, right around now, they're supposed to be starting a bunch of nasty lightning storms. And those lightnings could theoretically set off more fires and could cause us to have to evacuate. So it's a real good time. A lot going on. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Also, we got 2 hurricanes out on the coast, which doesn't affect me, but it does affect, my family and friends. So great time to be in America right now.
So what you're saying is we didn't get the hint after the pandemic, so Mother Nature is even more tired of our shit and is just trying to wipe us off the face of the planet.
Here's the best thing about California. Normally we fight the fires with prison slave labor, paying them $2 an hour, and then once they get out of prison, they can't get a job as firefighters because they can't get hired because they're former felons. So normally we just use all of our slaves to fight the fires, but guess what? All of our slaves are dying of COVID.
Yep.
Because the conditions in the prisons are so bad. So because they're not bothering to protect you from COVID at all. I think it's like a 25% transmission rate in the prison system. So they're
because
all dying.
Prisoners aren't people.
They're not. Yeah. So they're all dying of COVID. So we can't exploit. I'm not saying it's good that we exploit them to fight the fires. We should, be doing something that isn't that. But little double whammy there. Are exploited. We can't even exploit our exploitative labor like we normally do. So just bad, folks. It's a bad time. The sky's beautiful though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the
plus
the best part. Here's the best part. We're already wearing masks because of COVID, but now I got to wear masks because of fire. But here's the thing: they're not the same kind of mask.
Nope.
Double mask.
The kind of mask the kind of mask that you have to wear to protect yourself against toxic smoke won't protect people from spreading COVID and vice versa. So
fucking great.
But yeah, last night I did go out and I did decide to just wear my smoke safety mask, which means technically I was being unsafe and with COVID, which I do feel a little bad about, but I didn't really go near anybody. So it's fine. But if I really wanted to do it, I would have to do a double. Maybe I would wear my smoke mask to the grocery store and then swap for the COVID mask when I go into the grocery store.
Yeah, that's probably what I would do.
So anyway, it's a real fun time. It's a real fun time, and I am glad to have things like GDQ and video games in these lovely apocalyptic times.
Hell yeah. But yeah, I had a bad weekend, but I'm not going to talk about it. If this were a Wednesday night church service, I would say that I have an unspoken prayer request.
Yep.
Also, I feel that's specifically a Wednesday night church service thing. It only happens on Wednesday nights where people are like, "Yeah, I need you to pray for me, but I'm not going to tell you any of the gossip." And you're like, "Well, what? Why am I even at this worship service right now if I'm not getting the gossip?"
That usually just means they masturbated, right?
Yeah, that's probably all it is.
And they're ashamed of themselves. That's. I mean, come on. That's whenever someone gives an unspoken prayer request, I'm usually just like, you did something bad, right? But usually it's not like I killed someone. It's usually like I had a lewd thought.
Yeah. But
I looked at a woman lustfully.
Listen.
I saw a boob.
I saw Ann titty.
I saw exactly one titty.
I saw Ann titty. Yeah, let's listen to some Chrono Cross music. It will be anything but the goddamn Zell Best theme. Fuck that theme. But anything else, we'll listen to it.
I'm very tired of the Zell Best theme.
And we'll start talking about this week. All right, so when we last left our hero, Singular, we found out that Lynx is maybe sort of the Another World version of Surge. That kind of might not be the case after what we learned this week, but who the fuck knows? But because of that, he was able to use the Dragon Tier to steal our body and run off with our friends after stabbing Kid. It was the whole thing. It was messy. So now we wake up in a Van Gogh-looking-ass dimension. And while we're there, we meet Sprig, a little goblin old lady who says that we're in a dimension made out of chaos, and she hasn't seen a physical being there in years. She says that she's coming with us because she might be able to get out. Worst case is she travels with us in a circle in this chaos dimension and goes back to her hut. So we make our way up to Sprig's tower, and Harle is there, and she's like, I've been waiting on you. She insists that we're Lynx because we are not Surge any longer. the game agrees, and your name is now Link's in all of your menus and everything.
Oh, this is. Oh no, wait, we're not quite at the part that I wanted to talk about artistically yet. Sorry, go on.
Okay, so she also posits that we never really were Surge, which may be a clue, but also may just be her trying to fuck with us by being quote unquote deep, like stoner deep. And then we have a cool MC Escher dungeon that's not very long or very hard.
That was
when
the part I
through.
wanted to mention. I
I
really like that part. I love the artisticness of this weird dimension. And
this whole sequence is fire.
Like, it's a bit of a puzzle being in the MC Escher part, but like being familiar with MC Escher, it didn't give me any trouble. Like, it was easy for me to
Monument Valley like several times, so this was nothing.
Oh my god, fucking Monument Valley is so good.
And it looks gorgeous. And
that Monument Valley 2 is great.
Well, one thing I thought was funny about this part is it's really short and really easy. And if I hadn't been trying to get chests, I probably wouldn't have even gotten into a battle, which is fine. But it makes me be like, wait, how is Sprig stuck here for like eternities?
Well, it's the reason she was stuck there was the first part. We had Harle to follow to get out of the Lost Woods.
Also,
Sprig
frankly,
didn't have that.
That's true. Also, frankly, I mean, it probably is because Surge is like important and has some kind of fate. Like, this game's got a lot of weird ass stuff going on. I'm sure that if Sprig had tried to do the same thing, she would have just like ended up back where she started. But it is a little bit funny, right? She's like, "I'll come with you," and it's like, well, that was easy.
Yeah, it was a 2-screen dungeon. Are you stupid? But when we finally get through that dungeon, we are in Hydra Marshes, and Harle says that we should go back through the space gate.
To clarify, we're in the home world now.
Yes, we are in Homeworld's Hydra Marshes. And Harle says we should go through the space gate and go punch Lynx in his face. So we go to Opasa Beach, and nothing.
And it's not
Ain't
working.
Nothing happening. And supposedly the missing piece of the other world is back where it belongs, so the dimensions are not so weak anymore. But we don't know what that missing piece is. If I were Surge, I would be like, "What the fuck do you mean, Harle? You're not letting on all that you know. I want to throttle you until you tell me what Lynx's fucking plan was, so that we can fucking move on." But Surge never takes the time to ask Harle a goddamn thing this entire fucking week. But so she just mentions the missing piece is back where it belongs, and then we move on. So we go ask our mom for help, and like a true mom, she instantly recognizes us and believes us and wishes the best for us and tries to help, because moms are great. Love moms. If I had to think of any sort of mom, I would say yes to the mom. Moms are good. So
this is a pro mom podcast.
Hell yeah. So Radius comes in and fights us, and it feels like this might be a Undertale, and you could like run or guard or something and get an alternate win condition. But I didn't do that. I beat him in his face. And also there's another one.
Me too.
There's another one later that felt like that, and you couldn't if you tried to run. They were because it was to skip forward. It was the sage, and the sage is like, "Oh, you humans are so evil. All you do is fight." So you run, and she goes, "Oh, and now you don't even want to. You also run from fights when they're important." I'm like, "This isn't an important fight. I didn't want to fight you."
I did think that one. I did try to Undertale that one. I have some interesting thoughts about that. I actually really like that one thematically. Anyway, but yeah, it's night. Turns out night. Undertale style.
Yeah, I didn't Undertale anything. I beat those fuckers in the face. It was like, no, you want to fight? I'm going to give you a fucking fight.
Yeah, so we get Radius in our party, and he tells us what we knew from the other world, that he was a Dragoon. He like reveals it, and we're like, nah, we already knew that. And he's like, okay, well, did you know that 3 years ago, all of the other Dragoons vanished after a mission into the Sea of Eden? And we're like, we did not know that. I bet that will mean the rest of this world is weird. So we head off to Termina to find out what happens to the Dragoons. And in this world, apparently, the poor military did not be like, hey, Dragoons doing a good job. Can we like make you part of the army and kind of watch out for us there? They instead invaded and took over everything. So
yeah, it's like a
they're
very
everywhere.
very strong military like occupation. Like when you go to the town, it doesn't even play Termina town music. It plays like dungeon music, which is a shame because the actual homeworld Termina music is real nice. But I guess we'll hear it next week.
Yeah. Everyone there in the military knows Lynx, and half of them are like, how dare you show your face here again? And the other half are like, you're really important in the military. We can let you do cool stuff. So that's a big question mark on like what Lynx was all about and what's going on there, which is why I think maybe he wasn't Another World's version of Surge, but maybe also he was, and he had come through a space gate to be there. Who knows? I'm going to follow that plot thread. Go ahead.
I remembered a dumb joke I've been meaning to make.
Go for it.
That's only going to, like, nobody's going to fucking get this. Surge has Lynx disease, and you'll only get that if you've both seen This House Has People in It and have watched Nightmine's This House Has People in It explained.
I don't understand any of those words you just said.
Great.
Those were words.
Yeah, exactly. I knew you wouldn't get it, but I wanted to make it anyway for like the two other listeners who might exist who might get it.
Somewhere out there, a listener is going to be hollering.
Hell yeah.
If you're a Nightmine fan, I am also a Nightmine fan, and I'm sure there's more of us somewhere, but...
And you should come hang out on our Discord and talk to Eli. But as you explore around Termina and find several side quests, you realize that the harbor is blocked off and no one can pass without permission from Commander Norris, who is at Viper Manor. So here we go, the first of many retreads of the same dungeon. It sucks that this game is about alternate dimensions instead of time travel. Oh wait, no, Viper Manor is demolished. And only the prison and sewer are still standing.
Yeah,
two places which were optional in the other dimension, which is really, really cool, actually.
Yeah, I was so ready to get annoyed. And then, because like if you look at an FAQ, that like what we're using for planning, Viper Manor appears in the guide document like 4 times. It's like Viper Manor again. Viper Manor again. And I was like, oh god. And then it's just like, no, it's like a 3-screen long. It's not a dungeon. It's just some plot scenes.
Yeah. And so they had set up so far that Homeworld was going to be Lynx's journey doing the same exact thing as Surge was. You make your way through the same dungeon for the Fossil Valley, and there's no changes, and the mini boss is in the same spot. And it's like, okay, cool. We're just going to bravely default this game and do the same shit over and over again and just notice all of the differences plot wise, and they're going to reuse the same dungeons. And then here at Viper Manor was them being like, yoink, nope, not doing any of that whatsoever.
Yeah,
it would be really easy to fall. Yeah, it would be really easy to fall into that trip, bravely default. But they did not do that, and they instead were a good video game. And they changed things up from here on out, and I thought that was really, really cool. So in the prison, we meet Norris, and we learn that 3 years ago, Dario died, and the general and all of the others are all missing. And it was right after a man named Lynx approached Poor and told them that the frozen flame was in El Nido. So they came to investigate, but the Dragoons were already looking for it there. Then the Dragoons all disappeared. So Poor sweeped in to fill the power vacuum and it did their own investigation of the frozen flame. So that's why there's Poor everywhere, is they were kind of cool. Let the Dragoons doing everything. The Dragoons disappeared. Poor is like, well, El Nido is ours now, motherfuckers.
Yeah, before they were just doing a good old-fashioned hegemony. But now they're actually doing military occupation.
Yes. So Norris thinks that the Dragoons went to the Dead Sea, which is a, quote, ocean, doesn't make any damn sense, inside of an impassable coral reef. It used to be called the Sea of Eden up until 3 years ago when this incident happened, and Radius was like, I have no leads whatsoever on where they could possibly be, But also the Sea of Eden, we changed its name to the Dead Sea 3 years ago. Don't know why. Probably not related. But and so Norris and his men could not find an entrance to the Dead Sea, and Radius is like, well, the Beastmen of Marbule may know something because they were the original inhabitants until the humans came in and put them into indentured servitude, as we'll find out. So Norris is like, hey, we can go use my boat in Termina. When you get to Termina, there's a big-ass battleship there, and it looks beautiful, and it's flying the poor flag. And you're like,
so
this
cool.
is going to be great. And Norris is like, no, we're going to take that little go-kart boat over there. And we have a cool little military pontoon boat and not a badass battleship.
With great music.
Yes. So after we get on the boat, me and Maddy do approximately 100 side quests. Eli does too. And
I did so many. It's more than I normally do.
Yes.
I will say, for the people listening along who might want some tips, from here until quite a bit from now, like, there's a lot of side quests like last week there was a hard point of no return. That's not the case anymore. So any side quests that we didn't do, any side quests that you didn't do this week, you can do next week. You can also do it the week after. Like, I don't even know if there are any more PNRs. Like, there might be, but it's not for a while. And so, like, yeah, so there's no rush, right? Like, I think I did every side quest, but there might be one or two I didn't do. I certainly didn't, like, re-explore every single island. Like, I didn't go...
I have a list for you later so you can check and see, because I did all of them because I really like this game, and I did not want to stop playing.
Any that I didn't already do, though, I'll do next week, right? There is, I will say, and most of the side quests are like, oh, you go to this place and there's a tiny dungeon and you can get an item, right? There is one, I'm going to talk about one of them because it's my memorable moments, but there is one major side quest.
Yeah, which we get about half done so far.
We get about half done, and I think that I do want us to follow up on that next week as part of our required playing. It's not really that long.
Yes.
It's mostly cutscenes, but it fucking owns, so it's like, it's part of the game, right? But anyway, I did all of it that you can do this week.
Yeah, me as well. But the plot part of it is that we make our way to Marbule, which is a literal ghost town, as in there are only ghosts there. Ghosts and our good friend from Chrono Trigger, Toma. Toma says that it was colonialism that pushed the Beastmen from their homeland, and now they have to work for shit wages on the cruise ship, the Zelbess. Also, there's a voice that cries out every night, but no idea what that could be about.
Also, I want to mention, if I don't know if y'all went to Marbule last week, but Marbule in the other world was not like this. It had people in it, but they were all like, get out of here, you foreigner. But also there was, I think I mentioned, a big sleeping black dragon in a cave. And here you can go to that cave and the black dragon's not there. So
cool. Did not notice.
Yeah.
But so we spend the night and we find Irenes. Maybe just Irene with a silent S, but Irenes I think sounds more mermaidy because she's a mermaid and she's my girlfriend. And
she's really hot.
And she speaks with umlauts over like everything.
Every sentence. It's like she's asking someone for some loops. But she's got those. She got that that center, that mid boob going on. It's real good.
Yeah. It's great. So she was the crying voice. She cries because she doesn't have a singing voice, and what good is a siren without a singing voice? So she says she wants to come with us to the Zelbess to meet Captain Fargo. So we do, and
I did not get that scene. Holy shit!
Really?
Nope.
Did you miss her? Did you miss her completely?
No. She's at the Zelbess later, so she probably just went on her own. In fact,
Weird.
like, her being there wasn't jarring at all. Like they just had a slightly different version of the way the story goes. Because
in my investigation, I did a lot of the Zelbess first and could not proceed until she showed up, and I got her to show up by going and doing the late night singing thing. So that's cool.
Weird.
I don't know what triggers it. This game is dense as fuck. It could literally be anything that triggers it.
Yeah, to me, it was just it was so seamless. I was just like. It just like went into a cutscene with Irenes in it, and I was like, "Oh, cool!" And then she like joins the party later. Huh? I missed the whole scene. Crazy.
Weird. That's awesome. So we go to the Zelbes, and this world's version of Fargo is a dick.
Yeah.
He runs a cruise ship with a rigged casino on it, and he makes everyone gamble their lives away to be indentured servants to him forever. And the only way they can get out is by beating him in the games, which are rigged. So he's bad. And that promptly happens to us because we're trying to find the sage. So we are like, hey, can we join your martial arts tournament because this is a JRPG, so you have to have one. And he's like, only I'll bet you for it, and if you lose, I get your boat. And so we lose, and he gets our boat, so now we can't leave. So we are stuck forever, which then is one of those cool-ass NPC dungeons that we were talking about, and whatever game we were talking about had NPC dungeons. I know it's a thing we've talked about before. I can't remember what game it was.
East 2 had a big one.
Yeah, but I wasn't here for that. So it was maybe
lots of games.
Maybe Xenogears. I don't know. But it would make sense if it was Xenogears because this is Xenogears 2. So it's a big, long NPC dungeon. The goal is to prove that Fargo is a cheater and get the Sage of Marbule to tell us how to get to the Dead Sea. It has a whole lot of back and forth and several new named characters, but is really self-contained and skippable. I'll go over a little bit of it later. But plot-wise, we're just trying to do a thing. We do an NPC dungeon in which we do the thing.
All of the trans girls out there in the audience will be pleased to know that you do get turned into a cat in this section of the game.
Hell yeah.
My audience was very much into that part. So was I, for that matter. Yeah, you get to be three different cats, and you get to walk around. And you even get to talk to the other cats. It's great.
It's great. So we get a whole bunch of seeds for that side quest we were talking about, which is about Nikki and Irenes wanting to stage a coup and restore Marbule by singing the ancient song of the Beastmen. But more on that as we can actually do that part, because it doesn't go much farther than that at this point. It's
like you find out that there is a quest, and they say you should help us with the quest, and then Irenes joins your party. Basically, this is a mandatory... This whole adventure that we're here on Zelbes is mandatory, except at the very end they're like, we did it, also we should go talk to Nikki, and that's actually the only part that is technically a side quest. You could just be like no and leave on your boat. So we eventually do get a fiddler crab trinket from the sage. Also, this is a good time to say all of the names of the key items are dumb and don't explain what they are. But if you go into the menu and look at the items, there's a lot of really cool shit there. So the fiddler crab is a statue that is a red crab with a blue sapphire claw on it. And it's really fucking cool looking. Oh, wow.
And it would be awesome if anyone talked about any of the cool shit that's happening in the menu that you don't ever have to go to.
Yeah,
so
you almost feel like, because this game, I think, has a really stellar localization, it almost feels like these items were localized by, like, a different person. Like, they're very, like, not, like, Englishy, but they're very much just, like, every single one in the menu is, like, a random word that doesn't seem to mean anything. The fiddler crab, I figured it was a fucking crab. I don't know. Made me think of, like, Homestuck. It's like I'm putting you on speaker crab, right? Anyway.
It's if they would have called it like crab statue or said this is the fiddler crab, and they talk about it in thing like it's a special trinket and it's really cool looking, go look in your menu and you can see a picture of it.
Actually, no, I just thought about it.
Here's a fiddler crab.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I was just say what you're saying is really the key point, is that when they hand you items in this game, there's not the person doesn't tell you what it is. And like, think about real life, imagine someone, you're talking to a friend and they give you I don't know, like maybe a little, like say you're in a rough time in your life, and then your friend gives you like a little necklace that has like, I don't know, a crucifix on it or something. What do you usually say when you give yourself a friend? You'll be like, hey, take this necklace. My mom gave it to me. It gives you good luck. In this game, they're just like, hey, here, have... No, they don't even say have this. Sometimes it'll just be like, the dialogue, the text box is like, Serge got the necklace.
Yeah.
and that's it. That's all you get. And you're like, okay.
Yeah. I'll go into his side quest a little later, but Zappa, when he joins your party, he's like, oh, here, if you ever need me, use this. But does not say, hey, when you're at a save point, I'm the shop from now on for the rest of the game. So press this button to open up the good shop because no one else will make you anything out of Mithril. Doesn't say that. It's just, I've just been having to deal with the shit that I have because Zappa is the one that can do everything.
Yeah, they're basically all just saying. Basically, they're all just. It's like in the Philip CDI Zelda game where he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna quiz you. What's this monster?" And Link's like, "It's a Goma," and the guy just goes, "You're pretty good. Here, take this." And like that's it. He's just like, "You knew this thing was a Goma? Cool. Here, have the magic wand." And then you walk on to the next part of the game. Like, that's it.
Yep. Yeah. So, we get the Fiddler Crab from the Sage. We win back our freedom from Fargo, and we set off towards Death's Door, which is the hidden entrance to the Dead Sea. When we land in Death's Door, there's an evil aura in the air, and Radius recognizes it. In the next room, lodged in the stone, is the Masamune, which is evil for some reason now. The reason is explained in Chrono Trigger DS's post game, but of course I didn't play that because it wasn't fun. So the evil energy of the Masamune is blocking the path forward. If we try to go farther, we would go mad. So we instead need to find the Holy Sword, the Einlanzer, to nullify the evil and proceed, which is what we will do next week. Fun fact, as we get into the next section, the Einlanzer that's at Dario's grave is a fake in this one. If you go there and investigate it, they're like, oh, this is just a statue of the Einlanzer that we use to bury the dragoons here in the graveyard, which means we got to do a lot of other cool shit to get the Einlanzer instead of just go pick it up from Termina.
Yep, we have to go and hold on. No. We have to go get a copy of Einhander, which is currently like, I don't know, $20-$30 on Amazon. So it's going to be a bit of a side quest.
Yeah. But, let's listen to some kick-ass music and then talk about all of the denseness that happened this week. This week was really dense if you wanted it to be. And it's really cool. I really like it. So, first up, Sprig. Sprig is really cool. She's also our sole Chrono Trigger reference this week, besides the Poor Army, which we already fucking talked about in week one.
Well, and the Masamune.
And the Masamune, which I already talked about.
Sure. Oh, you mean besides that?
But she is a mystic, as in the Aussies. She is one of those. That's why she's blue. No one else is blue. She's a mystic from Chrono Trigger, which is really cool. She's also this...
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to say she's the most Akira Toriyama-looking character in this game.
Yeah, she definitely feels otherworldly, which is great because she's living in a chaos dimension. She's also the blue mage of this game, and she's real cool because she blue mages by transforming her own element grid. Literally at max level will only have 3 slots in it. It'll have her transform slot and two others, and that's it. And if she, while not transformed, kills a monster, she then stores that in her transformation. It's called the Forget-Me-Not pot, which is kind of cute. But she stores that monster in there and will then be able to transform into it later. She also is the key to one of the side quests. On the Zelbest, there's the martial arts tournament, as I mentioned, And the martial arts tournament is between your monsters and Janice's monsters. Your monsters being all of the ones in your Forget-Me-Not pot. So if you're like me, you instantly fall in love with Janice and you need to have her on your team. So you go and
Janice
look up
is
strats.
So cute.
You look up strats on what monsters you need. So then you spend about 6 hours going through Fort Dragonia to get the right monsters to be able to win and get Janice on your team. But she's a hot furry, so she's worth it.
Yeah, but it's really cool. Like, they put this whole fucking monster catching thing in the game just as one character's gimmick, right?
I don't understand the monster catching thing. Like, I tried to go fight Janice, and I had, like, one really good monster, and every other one sucked, and I was just like, well, guess I'm not doing this.
Yeah, so if you want Sprig to be a powerhouse, which you should, because it's fantastic, but if you go get a Torminator, which is the bull in Mount Pyre, those are really great. The robots in Fort Dragonia are really great. The Fossicker, which is at Earth Dragon Isle,
I got that one just naturally.
Is hella fucking good.
How do you get them? Do you just fight them?
You kill them with Sprig.
What you do is you slowly advance through your combos with everybody else to see when the monster falls down to be in low health. Then you make them guard for the rest of the time, and you let Sprig punch away at them for piddly ass damage so that Sprig gets the last hit to put them in the Forget-Me-Not pot.
That's not true. Sprig hits pretty good. Sprig hits pretty fucking good.
My Sprig hits for 8, so
what?
I don't know what's up.
My Sprig was doing like 50 damage on her strong hits.
Yeah,
which made it easy.
Maybe I had taken away some of her equipment to jostle around for my main party or whatever, but it was tedious. But like once she turns into the Fossicker, like the Fossicker always has 99 hit chance, which is awesome. Also hits for like 55 damage on a weak hit, like 150 on a strong hit, which since you have 99 hit damage, you can just start with the strong hits, and it's good.
Yep.
Sprig's great. Love Sprig.
Honestly, out of all the ones that she starts with, like
the Lagoonate is also
three
great.
Or four of them are really good. Lagoonate, the one that's like a big cat punchy man. But what's so cool is that all of these monsters have their own fucking element grid. And what I like about it is that you don't have to design it. So, like, you don't have to go through the trouble of designing the element grid or leveling up these monsters. You just get them. You just get them and go,
and
which is real nice. I like Sprig a lot. I did take her out of my party because I found someone I liked more, but she's real cool.
I also took her out of my party, but just for RP reasons, which is like weird. But we're supposedly going on behalf of Marbule, and I was walking around with 2 humans in my party. And I'm like, humans aren't from Marbule. I need beastmen. So I had Lynx and Irenes and Janice in my party most of the time. But like once we get into actual combat encounters, which we had very few this week, I will probably put Sprig back in my party because Fossicker is just like bonkers good. But speaking of the Zelbess, you get 2 optional characters there. Irenes is technically optional if you never follow Nikki to do that side quest, and you get Snef, who is a central character in the NPC dungeon. If you he's an illusionist but also a real magician, so he's like
you can actually get Snef here.
Yeah.
Oh, motherfucker. So I guess I better go back.
Yeah, so you run into him, he's doing illusions on stage, and a heckler is like, man, that's not real. Magic isn't real. He's like, oh yeah? And then turns your party into cats to show that he's a real magician.
Oh no, he just turns the one guy into a cat at first.
I mean, eventually he turns your party into cats, but yeah. So he's awesome, but it's definitely the gross character that's in every JRPG. He's great. Love him. But,
he's a sweetheart. When he turns you into a cat later, because first he turns, like I said, the other guy into a cat, and then he turns him right back, and the guy's like, holy shit, and he's like, yeah, don't fuck with me, right? But when he turns you into a cat, you want him to do it, and as soon as he turns you into a cat, you turn around and run out of the room, and he is really upset. He's like, oh shit, I didn't get to turn him back, they ran off, and then he chases you. And then later he goes and he wants to play the gambling game with Fargo again. And Fargo is like, haven't you lost enough already? And he's like, please just, no, I don't think he wants to play the gambling. He wants to like ask for a little bonus for work. And he's like, I really need to buy food for these 3 cats. And I'm like, oh, what a sweetheart. He accidentally turns him into a cat and then immediately is like, oh shit, well, if I can't turn him back, I need to feed them. Yeah, he's like, he looks gross and seems like he should be like an unlikable snake. I mean, he's literally like a magician. Like that's always a trope where it's like the sneaky magician, right? But no, he's great. I love Sneff.
Yeah, Sneff is great. So you get him in your party by going to the casino and then going backstage to the bar. And
that makes sense.
There's a great scene with him and all of his basically circus troupe, and it's great. So you can go in Termina to find Zappa, who in this world has given up on his smithery. He like turns off his eternal flame forge because he's done smithing forever, because he wants to find Karsh, who is, as you may remember, is his son, who also, as you may remember, went missing 3 years ago, which is kind of cool.
I wish his kids were named Dweezil and Moon Unit.
I don't get it.
I don't either.
That's the name of Frank Zappa's cat. Or cats. Kids.
Okay, that is good. That's
weird.
A good cut.
Thank you.
That makes sense. He would.
I'm making all the really obscure jokes today.
That makes sense that he would name his kids that. Yeah.
Yeah. You also can get Van to join your party. In another world, he had this long little side quest thing where he was a little prodigy painter and everyone was filthy rich and they were really snobby. But in this world, they're dirt poor because his father is a perfectionist and he won't sell art that isn't ready. And he like believes in capital A art and all of this stuff. And he's a visionary, and he like created his own blue paint. So all of his paintings have it and it makes them awesome, but he won't sell the paint because he believes in capital A art.
He's the Vanta Black owner. God, now I can't remember the name of the artist. It's the guy who created the Big Bean in Chicago. Yeah. He's one of those like modern art snobs who thinks he's just God's gift to the art world, and he is the owner of Vanta Black, which is the like supposedly the blackest black that ever blacked, and like sells it at a premium or doesn't sell it. It's something like that.
Well, no, he did it so he could, copyright it and sell it for $1 gazillion so that he could make art
there
only.
We go. That was
because in the modern world, there's 2 kinds of high art. There's actual art, which people care about and try their best, and then there's quote art that is, and I'm not trying to be like dismissive of this. It's a real thing. It's literally money laundering for rich people. So like 50% of high art is actual art, and the other 50% is a bunch of rich people circle jerking each other and hanging out at Little St. James. So those So the point is, Van's dad, because this game has dumb puns, is not one of those guys. He's just an idealistic, maybe slightly silly man.
Yeah. Yes,
he's not a dick about it.
Yeah, he's not selling his special blue for $1 gazillion only to millionaires,
Yeah. He's just not selling it because he believes in art. But because he's not selling any of his paintings, his family is destitute, and the loan sharks come in and are like, "Hey, we're gonna bust out your kneecaps because you're not paying anything." And Van is like, "No, I'm going to go prove that the frozen flame is real, and I'll sell it and pay off our family's debt. Just give us a week or whatever." And we're like, "Okay, cool. That's what we're doing." And he's like, "Thanks for playing along in front of everybody." And we're like, No, we actually are doing that. We are actually that stupid. You want to come with us?" And Van's like, "Sure, why not?" And so he joins our party.
That scene fucking tore my goddamn heart out. It was really heavy.
It's so good.
Because, like, I don't know, man. Last week was about destroying the environment and having climate refugees. This week is about just destroying environment in a different kind of way, and then everyone has to go and work in the service industry, which I think specifically the fact that all of the Marbulians work in the service industry, I think makes it extra bad. It's like, no, they're not slaves. They're not working on a farm. They're not working in a factory. They're being maids. And I think that that's very, very cogent in today's world, you know? And I'm like, that's how it is, right? Like, the poorest of the poor are, well, the poorest of the poor don't have jobs at all, but the poorest of the poor, if they're lucky, can get jobs as, like, specifically servants of people who can afford it, which really hit. But then we got this. There's one thing I feel like is important about Van, which is that in the other world, it's not just that he's a rich snob. He's a rich snob, and his dad sold out and gave up on art, and is just a rich guy. Yeah. And he also doesn't care about his son. So it's like the son in the other world is like, I wish that my dad loved me. All he cared is about his money. And then in the other dimension, you have this family where they do love each other. You know, it's ironically reversed, right? Where they do love each other, but they don't have any money. And it specifically is, for the record, it is specifically rent. It's like, we're gonna, or not rent, I think it might be mortgage, but it's like, we're gonna kick you out of your house, which is depressing. And then Van is like, I'm gonna sell the last special heirloom that my mom gave us, but I'm going to have to sell it in order to have this house. Sorry, Mom. And I'm like, I'm fucking dying this whole scene.
Yeah, it's great. You love to see it. So also in Termina, we meet Lisa again. And Lisa mentions, she's the item shop girl. Lisa mentions that her father is always off in the woods, obsessing over finding a Guardia mushroom, which he could sell to get rich. We happen to find a Guardia mushroom in the waterway under Viper Manor, so we go into the woods to give it to her father, and he's so excited, and he eats it because it's a delicacy. But the mushroom turns them into a mushroom abomination named Fungi, and I love him. He is the Hambo of this chapter.
He's awesome.
Is great. He is very uncomfortable to look at. I don't want to keep him in my party because every time his portrait comes up, it will make me uncomfortable.
He's very tall.
But in a good way.
No, I love this quest because you think that if you save the dad, then the daughter will join your party. Like, that's why you're doing it, right? She has a portrait. So you're like, I bet if I go and do this side quest, she'll join my party. But then no, her dad gets turned into a mushroom man. And if you go back and talk to her, it doesn't trigger any kind of cutscene, which at first made me a little bit confused. But then I was like, oh, maybe the dad who got turned into a freaky mushroom doesn't want to talk to his daughter because he doesn't want her to know that he turned into a freaky mushroom. Oh, also, he joins your party because he hates you for turning him into a mushroom and vows revenge.
Yeah.
It's kind of like how Misty follows Ash around for like 100 episodes just because
of her bike.
Just because you owe her a bike. He's gonna follow you around till the end of the goddamn game because he blames you for him being a mushroom man.
Interesting tidbit about that Pokemon movie that I just want to insert since we brought it up. I had the Pokemon the First Movie DVD as a kid, and it had commentary on it. And I'm one of those nerds who likes listening to commentaries. Love them.
Love a good commentary.
They were talking about translating the movie, and you know they talk about the mouth flaps, and they've got so many mouth flaps that they've got to fill things. And so like as Ash is getting turned to stone, Misty has 2 mouth flaps, and for a very brief time they actually considered having her say my bike which just fucking killed me.
That's extremely funny. I love that. She sees this person that it's like, I love how it's like, oh, so you initially followed him because of your bike, but over the course of many, many adventures you eventually learn to value him as a friend and really get close, right? No. I want my bike.
Like, if they had done that, it would have been like the best joke that they could have ever made.
Absolutely.
Missed opportunity, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's great. But if you do take him back to Lisa, the only thing you get is she goes, you look familiar, and that's it, and you move on. If he's in your party, that's it. So there's also a really elaborate mini dungeon, more elaborate than any of the dungeons you actually have to do in the sewers of Viper Mansion, and you get a bunch of items that are pretty good, like a couple accessories that are really good. But the most important thing is you get a third revive element, and it's the last one in the game. So you can finally have one on every person instead of, like, in my case, Lynx has my revives. And if Lynx is the one that dies, I run away from battle because what the fuck else am I supposed to do?
Also somewhere in this game,
really good.
Somewhere in this game is in an amazing store. I forget which store it is, but there's a store somewhere in this game that sells elements, and they just sell shit that we've been finding as, like, extremely precious chests up until now. They sell Recover All.
I think it's in Gold of. I think it's in this Gold of.
They sell Recover All, which up until this point, if you find a Recover All, it's like, oh, thank God I have 2 now, right? And now it's like, you can buy as many as you want. They sell the highest level of heal consumable above capsule.
Nostrum.
And this game's economy is completely borked. Everything in this game costs nothing. Like, all the prices are, like, super low. I'm like, hey, this is the most expensive thing on the list in this shop. I could buy 10 of them. Like,
you love it. But speaking of white magic, we hear from a bunch of the poor soldiers that there's a weird beam of light in the El Nido Triangle. And if you go investigate it, there's a pocket of air on the ocean floor, which is a small dungeon. At the end of the dungeon, you get a star fragment. If you take that star fragment to the Sky Dragon Island, you summon a giant cartoon alien that's dressed like Stitch 626 from the beginning of the movie.
Like wearing a spaceman suit and a glass helmet and everything. And he's giant.
Like a Sandy Cheeks ass alien. And he's fucking huge. And so you have a fight with this giant cartoon alien. And when you defeat him, he reverts into his small, 1 foot high form and joins your party. His name is Starkey. He's amazing.
Absolutely adore him.
One of my only few memorable moments I wrote down.
He was especially good because Lynx is not white element like Surge was. He's
anymore,
black, and Harle is also black. But I wanted Harle to save my party for plot reasons because she's the other character that has motivation here. But having 2 black really messes up your party compo. So I did get rid of Harle. So now I have a black and a white in my party, which is really, really nice. Ebony and Ivory living in harmony. And then I usually have black, white, and then either blue or green, just for the sake of having variety. Starkey,
the legendary Starkey.
What did I name him? I think I named him. I named him Ziggy. After Ziggy Stardust.
Nice.
But yeah, same shit. He's great. Love him.
And then final party member this week, as we mentioned before, if you go to Fort Dragonia, you have to do all of the puzzles, none of the boss fights, thankfully, but all of the puzzles again. And you get down to the incubators. They're working this time. You put in your egg and you get Draggy, who's a small and cute RN dragon whose family is all dead. And he gets out and he sniffs all of the incubators and he's like, oh, these are my family and they're super dead. Will you be my mom? And joins your party. And it's real sad, but love Draggy. He's great.
That's funny. We actually do have to go there later, you could have just waited till later.
I mean, there was nothing preventing me from going. There was nothing, anything. I just knew that's where the incubators were, and I knew I had an egg. So
that makes sense. You got to crack the egg sometimes.
Yeah. Yep. So the final thing you can do is you can go to Earth Dragon Isle and explore, and there's something big in the basement. I forget what it is, and the explorers there help you bring it out. But they say, this will take a while, come back later, and it's not later yet. So I don't know what it is, but it's something to do now before the later happens later.
It's next week's mandatory plot quest.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So I guess you just got a head start.
Well, it's not. No, it's not. Because I've done next week's mandatory plot thing on accident because of the mishap, and it doesn't take place here.
No. There's other stuff.
There's other stuff.
It is.
Okay,
that's what I'm saying. We're not ending at the Dead Sea next week. We're ending after that. We're going past it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
although actually, you're right.
Yeah.
It is 2 weeks from now, but still, point is, it's going to happen later.
So that's all I have for this section. So we can hop on over through our magical musical train and end up in our memorable moments section. I only have two, and one of which we've already talked about because we already talked about being a cat. So my party for a good chunk of this week was Lynx and Irenes and Starkey. And Irenes, when she gets tired for her idle animation, because she has a normal one like everybody does, but about like 5-10 seconds into it, she gets tired and sits on her tail and like swishes it back and forth, and it's awesome. And Starkey is a doof, so his idle animation is he flips onto his head and spins around like a fucking top on his helmet, and it's great.
That's awesome.
I played during work a lot for my downtimes, and so I would have it up and I would glance over and I saw a lot of different idle animations, and there too were the best ones. So yeah. I like those.
The animations in general, from your player characters to the attack animations to all the enemy. This game has a lot of really, 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 really good polygonal work. And I think that when you're in combat, you should press triangle. Because if you press triangle, it goes from the faraway view to a zoomed-in kind of like Dragon Quest style head-on view, and you get to get a good look at all the enemies. And I've been making very good use of that to look at all the cute enemies.
Yeah, it's good. But those are the only ones I had. Does anybody else have any others?
What do you got, Eli?
I'm real bad at actually writing down memorable moments, so I don't have any that I can remember.
I have some,
besides being a cat.
I have some.
Being a cat is great.
Being a cat is great. Yes.
Everybody wants to be a cat, so I've heard.
Yeah. That is what they say.
Last week, Sam told me how to quickly set it up where I can do a quick little shortcut to take screenshots and save them as files on my PC. So now I can finally take screenshots on the fly while I'm streaming without having to be like, oh, everyone stop, I gotta take a screenshot, right? So I was able to get a couple. Really just two, though. The first one is when you go back to your hometown. Well, first of all, this isn't really a memorable as much as a commentary, but I love how this game, the first long section of the game, is you exploring a different world, but you're yourself, but you don't belong there, but you're exploring the different world, you're learning all about it. And then you're exploring the home world, but of course you're not in your own body, you're someone else, so you're still kind of a stranger. But it's interesting how it's backwards, right? Like normally you'd think, first you see how your world is, and then you see how the other world is different. But from the player's point of view, we don't know anything about this world. So to us, the home world is the different one, right? So we keep thinking, oh, that's weird. That's different than it was in the other world. Because we were, at the beginning of the game, they were gatekeeping us hardcore. Like, they didn't let us go through the Fossil Valley.
Fossil Valley.
So, like, we couldn't explore any of this stuff. So now you're going to Termina for the first time, you're going to Byron for the first time, but you're going through it as Lynx. And in the original game, in the previous section, in the other world, everyone was like, who are you? Or you died, or you're a ghost. They weren't hostile, but they were like, who are you? We're confused. But in this world, as Sam said, everyone's a lot more hostile to you. And it's really deep. But also, when you go to your hometown, it's really fun because this game lets you experience the universal, I think the very universal experience that every person has of going back to your hometown and realizing that everyone's really racist. Because you go back and, like, in Termina, it's like you're Lynx and we don't like Lynx. But in your hometown, it's like, we don't like Demi-Humans here. Like, specifically. Yeah. And they're literally all just like, hey, you better get out of here, buddy. We don't take kindly to Demi-Humans around here. And I'm like, oh my god, everyone here's so racist. And when I went to my mom's house, I was like, she better not. If my mom is racist, I'm going to scream. I'm going to get so mad. Luckily, she's not. She's a sweetheart. And not only is she racist, but if you're reading this game as as it could also be kind of, you could also do like a bit of a trans reading of this game. She's also very a trans ally. So go mom. Funny enough, the least racist person in the whole thing is the guy who was the fisherman who in the other world was praying to Hambo. You tell him that you're actually Surge or whatever, and he's just like, at first he's like, hey man, the people in this town really don't like Demi-Humans. You should like it's fine, but like you just be careful. And then you're like, no, I'm actually Surge. And he's like, what? No way. Which makes sense that he'd be very gullible for a person who in the other dimension worshipped a straw idol. But then he's like, he catches himself and he's like, wait, no, that's some kind of mean joke you're playing. He's like, dude, don't tell anyone else that. They're going to get real mad. So yeah, it's funny. You go home and everyone's racist. And finally, when you go to the star...
It's like going back to family reunions after you've grown up and realizing, oh.
Yeah, exactly. Oh. It's the exact same feeling. When you, although there's a few characters who, a lot of the NPCs have funny versions of that. Like one guy, he's the one who's staring at the poster the whole time. He's like lusting after the poster of Mickey. Since he's looking away from you at the poster, he doesn't even know who you are, so he doesn't say anything racist. He doesn't notice that you're a Demi-Human at all. He does not care, right? Which is nice. You love it when people are like, maybe they're bigots, but mostly they just don't care. It's like they're too busy to be bigots. It's like, hey, better than nothing.
Yeah.
At least it's none of your business. But anyway, finally, when you're on Sky Dragon Isle, and there's a lot of build up to Sky Dragon Isle as well. There's like, oh, we heard that if there's star pieces up there, and this guy's like, oh, but I went there with my friend, and this monster came and took my friend's star piece. I'm glad we made it out alive. All that kind of stuff. When you're walking up the steps, there's this adventurer, and he's like, yeah, everyone's saying there's a monster up there, so you really shouldn't go. And then the next dialogue box is like, oh, but I can see it in your eyes, you're going to go anyway, aren't you? And then the line is, we adventurers get all fired up when they tell us not to go somewhere. And I'm like, yeah, that's true. Yep. Especially in a video game. Anytime someone's like, don't go there, you're like, oh, hell yeah, I'm going there. And sure enough, we got a party member, and the battle wasn't even very hard. So.
Famously, Dragon Quest III starts with a personality test that includes teleporting you into a dungeon where it says, danger is on the left, don't go over there. And you, a JRPG player, is like, it's probably a chest. I'm going to go left anyways.
Yeah.
And it judges you based on that, which is great.
And I guess the final thing is, I didn't get screenshots of it annoyingly, but I really, really love the opening sequence this week. It's probably maybe my favorite part of the game, although the shit happening next week is also really amazing. It's 3 screens. You got like Sam said, sort of the Van Gogh-esque area, which is, words cannot describe how beautiful this area is. And even if you were to look it up on the internet, it's more beautiful in motion because it has lots of nice particle effects and transparencies, and the music's beautiful. But then you get to and Sprig's speech here I found very affecting. Actually, it's pretty much just like downer, everything's meaningless. But the way it's written is very, very nice. I feel like it doesn't just feel like fake deep. It's like, no, you're talking about something real here. The line he gives that I really like is, he says, the important thing you need to know is that anything you care about, even very important things, can be taken from you at a moment's notice. And I'm like, that's some real shit. And there are times when a person learns that, right? And then when you get into the second area, which is that beautiful tower, and the camera is like a top-down view of the tower, and Harle is like walking up and down the walls, which is cool as hell. So visually, I won't go into it, but she her stuff about identity, I find very good as well. She asks Surge what the self actually is, and she says like what is Surge? Like, is Surge a body? Is Surge a soul? Is Surge an idea? Like, is Surge memories? Like, what is it, right? She actually says it more poetically than that, and less literally. And the fact that she says it so poetically is what makes it really work, right? Instead of just like, Joe Rogan, right? But yeah, she goes on a bit, and then actually a ghost of your own of Surge appears. Actually, it's not just Harle. Another Surge appears, and he's like, I'm the captain now, and you have to. I
mean, Harle turns into him to fuck with you. It shows her turn into him.
Oh, I must have not read that. But yeah, and then you have to like follow him. So it's just the whole idea of like, you're lost. You don't know where you are. You don't know what you're supposed to do, and you also don't even have your own body. It's really, really, really good. And then the rest of the game follows up on that. And in case you're curious, we are going to be links for a while. We're going to be links for all of next week. 2
more episodes worth.
We're going to be links for all of the next episode and most of the episode after that.
Yeah. It's good
That's
shit.
all I got.
This game is good. I really like it. I wish Eli liked it more, but it happens.
I'm enjoying the story okay, but for me, like, gameplay that is frustrating is...
We'll cover up all of that.
Yeah,
right away.
It really takes away from the experience of enjoying the story, which is why, like, at times I've had to just go, I've got to watch a Let's Play of this because I can't handle the gameplay. If I'm having to play this game, it's going to frustrate me so much that I just can't enjoy the story. And it's gotten a bit better, but there's so much in Chrono Cross, like with all these different characters, and like I've got to set magic for everybody anytime I put someone new in my party.
You do realize you can auto do it, right?
No.
Okay, so when you in the allocate menu,
there's a remove and a remove all, and that's all I've seen.
There's red arrows on it, so if you press over in that direction, you can do auto allocate, and then you can press whole party. So what I do when I get a bunch of new stuff is I go through and remove all from everyone, and then allocate all for the party, so it'll take it from the people in the reserve and everything, and put just the good stuff.
Okay, I was gonna say, does it like have a smart feature where it gives you like good things? Because I don't know what's going to be best, and like,
yeah. So it's fairly smart, and only this week when I accidentally played ahead did I need to go and manually adjust it. And so basically what it does is it prefers your color and tries to do things at level and not do +1s or -1s or whatever, and it'll fill it out that way. And so if you get to a boss, like we're about to face a really hard boss that's all white, and I know he doesn't have anything that messes with red, blue, green, or whatever, I then can go run away from the fight when I'm getting my ass kicked, go in there and replace the auto blues and reds and yellows that they have in there and replace them with just graviton +3 or whatever. And so I let that carry me through the whole game and let me see like, oh, this move is really good, this move is really bad, this was really handy to have, etc. It lets me sample all of the things. So then when I get into a boss fight and I need to set just for my 3 guys for that particular boss fight, I can go in piecemeal and do it.
God, so I wish I'd known that sooner.
Yeah, that'll probably help out a lot of it. I didn't realize you didn't see it. I would have told it a lot earlier.
Allocate all. I was looking for it because I was like, there's got to be an easier way to do this because I've got to fill
you have 43 Yeah, you have 43 characters. There better be some. There's not an auto equip all, which makes me really mad, but there is for elements at the very least. So
funny
that's
enough,
good.
I didn't notice that either. But the funny thing is, I explicitly noticed the red arrow Sam was talking about, and I went up to that arrow, and I hit right, and nothing happened. And what I'm guessing is maybe I just didn't hit. I just like accidentally goofed up on the controller, and maybe my finger slipped. But I was like, well, that didn't do anything. And then I just went on with my life. But no, my strategy is way better and much lazier. I'm just kidding. It's not actually better. When I put a new character in my party, I just don't give them elements and don't care because probably I'm not going to have a battle for a while. And then once I actually have a battle, if it's not hard, I just still don't bother. And then once something actually happens that's difficult, then I go and I give them elements. Or I'll give them like 3. I'm like, oh, they're red. Slap a few reds on there. That'll get me through this entire dungeon. And then it's like, oh, it's a boss battle? Okay, fine. I'll actually give them elements now. I'm just like, I do not care.
But also, Eli, you never have to allocate anything to Sprig whatsoever. She only has 3 slots, so you can give her a heal and a high level green spell, and then otherwise you just transform into the thing and
I know
punch it.
Sprig is apparently good, but I feel like I'm not going to understand the best ways to use her, and also I don't want to go out all these places and
I have good news for you. I think not next week, but the week after, you can get a second Forget-Me-Not pot, which instead of just being a thing that she has in her lore, is an accessory you can equip on someone that's in every battle, like, I don't know, Surge. And then every time Surge kills an enemy, it also goes in the Forget-Me-Not pot. So you can transform Sprig and still get all of the goodies from it. So
well, that helps then, because...
Yeah.
Sprig is like a tiny bit more physical game time effort, like a little bit, but way less brain effort. Like, Sprig is the ultimate, like, no thoughts, head empty character. I love her. Because, like, right now for me, she only has she has like 3 good monsters. One of them's good at magic, one of them's good at physical. Every battle, I'm just like, turn into the strong magic guy, turn into the strong tiger man and hit them. And that's every single battle. And don't ever have to allocate elements. I love her.
Yeah. But, this game is good. Everyone should play it. If you've made it this far and you haven't played it and we haven't gushed about it enough, seriously pick it up. It is $10 on PSN and usually $8 for complete inbox when it's in stock online. So it is easy to get this game.
Also, if you want a good week to start playing it, now might be the right time, because next week is Spoiler City.
Yeah, so definitely play it. I'm talking to you, Car, who said, man, I won't ever be able to catch up, so I'm just going to listen this time. You should the episodes will be here forever. Like, I'm not going to judge you for listening to this in 2 weeks when you catch up. So go and catch up, and then we'll keep going from there. So, yeah. If you like what you heard today, you can follow us on the web at all of our socials, the hub of which is www.rpgbook.club. It has a link to our Discord, which, of course, I always want to hype because our Discord is fun times. Favorite part of this podcast. Glad that I decided to post our invite link publicly instead of just using it to record. It has grown into it's like my main social media, TBH. Like, if I want to post something, I really just want to tell Maddy and Matt anyways, so why not just put it in the Discord? So I love it. It's great. Everyone should come and join. We're cool kids there. But if you want to,
sometimes I talk there.
Yeah,
very infrequently.
Hang out in the Final Fantasy 14 and speedrunning boards, and you might actually see Eli.
Yeah, I was talking a whole lot during GDQ, and very few people were actually talking back. It was a little sad.
I was like working or something every time you were able to watch, and then every time I was able to watch, you were working or something, and so we were ships in the night just barking into the void about like, oh my god, did you just see Happy Feets? Which
a lot of the time I read people's messages and I'm like, those are good messages. I'm glad I read them, but I don't think I should post a message.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm much more of a passive observer than
I lurk a lot in the Discord. Like, I'll wake up and I'm like, oh, hey, Maddy, Matt, and Francesco talked for like 6 hours about Fire Emblem or something. Let me read all 6 hours worth of content and then change the subject to something else at the end of it.
I tend to assume
I would
never.
I'm offended that you assume I would talk about Fire Emblem.
I just picked a random
I know,
topic.
I'm just kidding.
I tend to assume in big group chats that most people don't care about my opinions because everybody else has so many opinions, so I just kind of sit back and let people give their opinions.
But fun fact, you forget, you are one of the hosts of this podcast. Everyone there thinks you're a celebrity.
We do want your opinions.
You can listen to our podcast, and maybe sometimes you'll hear them, when I get a chance to speak.
Nice. Sorry I talk so much.
It's okay. It's that so sorry to prolong this, but now
That's
I have
fine.
more opinions
care.
that I actually want to talk about.
We love your opinions. We literally were just talking about how much we love your opinions.
As a trans man, I grew up socialized female. And one of the things that they tell you as a little girl is not to interrupt people. And you get interrupted a lot because boys don't get told not to interrupt people. Boys are told to give their opinions no matter what. And fuck everybody who doesn't want to hear them. Little girls are told to be quiet and polite. Even if your parents are very open-minded and liberal, they still teach you traditional little girl things about being polite and letting other people have their turn and that sort of thing. And so, like, I have this extreme, aversion to interrupting people. And so, like, even when I try to insert my voice, when Maddy and Sam both keep talking, I just shut up because I'm like, all right, I'll wait my turn. And then they keep going, and I can't get my turn because I've just been sitting here going, I can't interrupt them. It's rude. So
one of these days, Zencastr won't be free for 3 people anymore, and we'll switch back to Google Hangouts where it'll tell us that you're trying to talk, and things will be good again. But right now, Zencastr is free, and it makes my editing easy. And,
that's fair. I mean, I probably should just push past it and just be like, no, you're gonna fucking listen to me. But I feel really bad doing that, especially because I hate being interrupted so much. Like, that's another thing about being socialized female, again, is I would get interrupted a lot as a kid. And so it became a massive pet peeve for me. And I'm one of those people who's like, if I don't want someone doing something to me, then I don't want to do it to other people. And so I don't want to be rude. I don't want to, like, I call myself a vampire because if I don't get invited to something, I won't go. Like, I have to be directly invited to someone's house to go over there. Like, I won't just go visit my friends. Or like, you know, even in Final Fantasy XIV, if someone does not directly invite me to an RP event, even if it's a public event, I won't go because I will assume I'm not welcome there. So, like, I just have these, like, it's definitely a me issue. And, you know, I want to be able to push past that, and I apologize for interrupting, but also I'm going to try to interrupt more.
Please.
Okay, the second sentence
more.
was good. The first sentence was bullshit. The apologizing for interrupting. I'm joking.
Yeah, don't apologize for interrupting. I also having anxiety myself. I know this next sentence means nothing, and imposter syndrome will be like, no, he's just saying this. But we value all of your interruptions because as we're about to see spoilers, we like dumbass obscure things as we're about to play on this podcast. Spoilers. First time I've done a spoilers on the air and not in the Discord, but we're about to play some really obscure things. So you dropping jokes that literally 2 people will get is brilliant.
Those jokes are
do
good.
That all the time.
I'm. It's not a problem that I don't get them, but I'm just going to say I don't get it because I think that kind of makes it funnier to say that I don't get it because it's true.
Okay, cool. Yeah. I don't want it to be like, why is Eli making these jokes when nobody gets them? Like, he should shut up.
Please.
And that's like...
It's a wide internet world out there. I mean, I'm always making references to the video game that I made that nobody can play because I haven't fixed it yet.
Yeah. Yeah, and like, just because you know 2 people that are really into Homestuck, Eli, doesn't mean that, like, that's a big deal. And so us referencing Homestuck like it's the Bible every day is obscure stuff too.
I just say things because my brain is like a parrot. You know, I see a stairs and I say, "I told you, dog," and that's it, and it just happens.
That's it. It just happens. But
it keeps happening, one might say.
Yes. One might also say it doesn't stop from keep happening.
One might also say that the dumb jokes pile doesn't stop. Okay, I'm going to stop making jokes about Homestuck jokes while discussing my Homestuck jokes.
We're never going to end this podcast if you don't stop. If you keep stopping.
But
that's good.
Yes, everyone shower Eli in love and beg him to interrupt us more and more, and do reverse socializing, where you'd said peer pressure him so much into interrupting us that he fears for his life if he doesn't. So,
maybe don't go that far.
I want ultimate peer pressure to make Eli be rude to me and Maddy.
It's like the movie Speed, except instead of having to make sure the bus is always going over 50 miles an hour, Eli's words per minute must always be over a certain amount or he'll explode.
Yes.
I haven't seen that movie.
If I don't get the words out...
Or Keanu Reeves will explode.
I saw Speed when I was like 12.
I've heard it's great. I haven't seen it.
It's, as I recall, I remember Keanu Reeves being in it. And I remember there was a bus and it couldn't slow down.
I remember it being like Snakes on a Plane, where like, this is the dumbest, stupidest plot ever, but the movie is awesome.
Yeah.
So I'm going to watch this kick-ass movie.
That's pretty accurate. Oh man, and I told this joke. Now that you've mentioned Snakes on a Plane, I got to tell this joke real quick. For those who weren't in the Discord, during GDQ, they had a Mario Kart run, which was great. It was a fantastic Mario Kart run. But they mentioned that one of the stages, levels, tracks, what have you, has crabs on a cycle. In context,
that's
I know
your
that
fucking
means
Discord name.
Yes, yes. In context, what this means is that there are crabs on the track, and that they run on a specific timer that is a cycle.
I see.
Through the track. Yeah, but I heard that, and my brain went, "Oh my god, that would be a great follow-up movie to Snakes on a Plane, Crabs on a Cycle." Like they're at the Tour de France, and one of the bikes is just covered in crabs. And they have to try and get the crabs off the cycle, and Samuel L. Jackson is there going, "I am sick to death of these motherfucking crabs on this motherfucking cycle," and it would be amazing.
Or sequel to Sharknado. Crabs in this cyclone. Crabs in a cyclone.
Yes. Also good.
Speaking of which, I watched about 10 seconds of Sharknado 3 while I was in Chicago this weekend, and Jesus Christ, there are 3 Sharknadoes, and they combine into a superstorm. And
why does it keep happening?
Isn't that what's happening in the Gulf right now?
With the Sharknadoes?
Yes, I think so. But anywho, if you want more reviews of Cellular 2004, you can find us on the internet at www.rpgbook.club or donate monetarily at our Ko-Fi at ko-fi.com/rpgbookclub, where you can unlock cool things like dot hack episodes, which we are recording the first episode of part 2 tomorrow. So expect those soon. And for RPG Book Club, I have been Sam Allman.
I'm Sailor Crabs on a Cycle, Eli Warren.
I'm Maddy Grace Spiffle Webb, and check me out on Twitch, please. Thank you.
And play us off, Falcom JDK Band.
Because of East, because of the music.
That's our name.
Got it. Good one. Good joke.
Yeah. Play us off, Keyboard Cat.
I know this if I ever listen to our own episodes. I've actually been doing that more lately. But I
don't much care for our podcast.
Whenever I'm out of all the other podcasts, I often am like, okay, I can listen to nothing, or I can listen to RPG Book Club. And then I listen to RPG Book Club, and I'm like, I'm really enjoying
Nothing sounds good.